What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I'm a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, I thank you so very much for being here. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Thank you for sending it to a friend. Thank you for checking out ZamboniFunk.com. There's music there. There's a podcast there. There's merch there. There is you can get readings there. You can get a Zoom chat reading with me. You can get a 10-minute video reading with me, much like this weekly forecast is. There's a whole gang of cool stuff there. You can go to Patreon and support me regularly there. There's an electional report where you can get timing advice about what days to avoid or what days to launch your product or whatever it is. You can also get an Astro Fundamentals course there. That is that's good for just getting a basic foundation in astrology, and I'm looking at updating that pretty soon, so keep your ears peeled for a next course. Thank you for checking out all of those things. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead there. So this week we've got the biggest news this week is going to be Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. So Jupiter is going to finally conjoin Uranus there in Taurus. We've been looking at that and like sort of flirting with that for a number of years, or not a number of months, but it's been a number of months at this point where we're like getting closer to that conjunction, but Jupiter moves pretty slowly. So it takes a little while to get to there. And we are in orb and just doing it this week. So we're going to see that conjunction, Jupiter, Uranus, and Taurus. So this looks like Jupiter. So Jupiter's job is to say yes to things, to confirm, affirm. Often there's a sense of joy or meaning or, things that like feel good or feel like they matter in some kind of way. So we're looking at sort of significant changes in like sudden changes in the Taurus things. You know, if we're thinking about Uranus, going to be sudden changes or surprises or rebellion or turnarounds or breakups, breakdowns, breakthroughs, breakaway, liberation, no longer repressed, this kind of thing around Taurus issues. Okay, so Taurus stuff is going to be like things that feel good or things that you generally think are going to be stable. We're thinking a lot about like food and shelter and hugs and like regular things that like are just kind of like a regular part of how to exist in a body, this kind of thing. So so when we think about like Jupiter and Uranus, then we can think about some kind of like change in the invention. Like we might see some invention of like new tech around food or something like this. This is probably a very good idea. So what I would do is look in your natal chart, and if you need help with this, then you can always go to ZamboniFunk.com and sign up for a reading. But look in your own chart and figure out where this is in your chart, what house it's in, and then sort of think about what kinds of experiments you can run in that area of life. So for example, I've got Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus in my 11th house. So this might be a good time for me to experiment with network, team, or community, right? So this might be a good time for me to look out into new communities that I might be a part of, or that might have similar interests to me. And then seeing Jupiter there, it looks like, okay, well, so if you reach out to those folks, then maybe they're gonna be sort of receptive and positive to that kind of thing. So you can do that in whatever area of the chart it is and see what you're looking at here. I like to see Jupiter here, but it's not going to be super simple. Like a lot of times we think about Jupiter as like making things better. Like, oh, thanks Jupiter for being so great here. Uranus is going to disrupt stuff by its nature. It's going to want to switch things around. You know, it's worth noting that, especially like in the relationship space, then sometimes a breakup is an improvement, right? So we might be sort of like in that space here a little bit, especially since we can see that this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is happening very closely sextile to Mars, who is in Pisces, who is going to make that sextile to Jupiter and Uranus this week, and who is still very closely conjunct Saturn. So this is like big no-no boys energy. This is like the kind of thing where stuff is pressurized and difficult. There's something that like doesn't taste good about it, right? And so sometimes, often this is the way that experimentation goes, is like you got to try some different stuff and then a bunch of it doesn't work, or a bunch of it doesn't feel the way that you want it to, and so then that actually leads you to the place where you want to go. It takes failure to get to the place where things are working properly or doing the thing that you want them to do, right? So we might see this kind of thing going on here. Also, it's worth noting that so Jupiter-Uranus is happening there in Taurus, right? So Jupiter-Uranus in Taurus is ruled by Venus. We've got Venus in Aries this week, and we're going to see a conjunction to Mercury retrograde as well. So when I think about Venus in Aries, then I think about, so Venus is like delicious things that taste good, that feel good, sensual delight, this kind of thing, right? Cooperation, harmony, togetherness. Venus likes to adhere and cohere. There's something like sticky and together about Venus, right? So when we're thinking about Venus in Aries, then we can think about pleasure that is associated with the Aries things that are like a little bit feisty, or might be a little bit spicy, or want to like create a conflict in some kind of way, especially since we can see that Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is closely conjunct Saturn, so there's a lot of like gear grinding kind of energy there, right? So finding something delightful about gear grinding, right? So we can think about, or grinding, right? Like we can think about that sort of thing, how there are times when grinding spicily is fun, right? So we can see that kind of thing. But then we add Mercury retrograde into the mix. And so Mercury retrograde is going to be associated with things that miscommunications, or things like like I had a package that was headed my way this week, and it got closer and closer. You know how you can like watch the tracking number or whatever. It got closer and closer, and then it got to about 2 hours away from me, and then went in the opposite direction, and so now it's further away than it started. So like that kind of thing is what Mercury retrograde is typically associated with, right? So putting that there with Venus, who Venus in Aries tends to take pleasure in some kind of conflict or challenge or something like this. This looks like a great time for a joke. This looks like a really good time for something unexpected happening, right? Because we've got unexpected twice here. We've got Mercury retrograde sending you in a direction you might not have expected, and then Uranus conjunct Jupiter as well, looking surprising in this sort of stuff. So it looks like surprises and things that you didn't necessarily see coming are really big in the sky this week, but there's an opportunity here to see both Jupiter conjunct Uranus, so that's Jupiter with the surprises, and then Venus with the miscommunications. That's two benefics hanging out with our surprises, right? So it looks like a good time for surprises. So surprises can be beneficial in some kind of way. So looking at this, as well as the whole Mars-Saturn thing, and Mars-Saturn is sextile to Jupiter-Uranus and all this, and Mars-Saturn is also ruling that Venus with Mercury retrograde, we're probably going to see some kind of benefit to doing things that are out of the ordinary, or if things didn't go the way that you originally planned, it turns out that that's actually better than your plan was in the first place. So I would keep an eye out. There are going to be delays this week. There are going to be things that like didn't go in the direction that you had hoped that they would go. But this is a really good week for finding silver lining around that sort of stuff. So I would definitely be aware of that and maintain a kind of flexibility. Taurus is not well known for its flexibility. Sometimes I think about Taurus as being like the mighty oak tree, right? Super like thick and robust, and doesn't do well in a windstorm. In a windstorm, it might fall over or break or something like this. And so I have been talking about Uranus and Taurus as a moment for the mighty oak tree to learn the lessons of the cattails and the reeds, right? In a windstorm, they just lay down, and then when the storm is done, then they stand right back up again. It's no problem for them. So this is a moment to learn about that flexibility and to lean into that, even in the Taurus places where you might not necessarily feel that good about that, or where you might not want that. A lot of times Taurus likes things to be steady and reliable, but if we keep, this sort of like speaks to, if we keep the existing order, then it's like the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. A lot of times folks will choose the devil they know, even though it maintains a system that keeps them in problems, whatever kind of problems those are. It's like, you know, Harriet Tubman has to like put a gun to some slaves' heads in order to get them to run away, because there's a lot of fear around what freedom could look like, right? So this is a good week to be like, maybe even though it's scary, it could be better on the other side, or there might be something great that I haven't even imagined yet. So what if we expand our imagination